My fiancée told her friends, I'm settling. I heard everything, said nothing, canceled the wedding, sold our dream home. 2 years later, she's still single while I'm married to someone who never settled. Hey, Reddit. Honestly, I'm settling. But isn't that what we all do eventually? I froze mid-step on the staircase, my hand gripping the banister so tight my knuckles went white. Come on, Michelle, one of her bridesmaids said through a nervous laugh. You don't mean that. I absolutely do. He's safe, stable. He'll be a good provider, a good father. But exciting? Please. I could do better if I really tried, but I'm 31 and my eggs aren't getting any younger. The other women laughed. Actually laughed. I'd come home early from my business trip to surprise my fiancée. Instead, I got the surprise of my life, standing invisible on my own staircase, listening to the woman I'd loved for 4 years casually shred me to pieces over mimosas with her friends. What about the sex? Another voice asked. Adequate, Michelle said, and I heard the dismissive wave in her voice. Nothing to write home about, but he's attentive enough. I can work with adequate. Something inside me went completely still. Not angry, not hurt, just quiet, like a switch flipping off. I'd been planning to walk down those stairs, wrap my arms around her, tell her how much I'd missed her during my 3-day conference in Denver. Instead, I carefully backed up, grabbed my suitcase from where I'd left it by the bedroom door, and walked straight out the back entrance to my car. She never even knew I'd been home. That was a Thursday. The wedding was scheduled for 6 weeks away. We'd just closed on our dream house the previous month. A beautiful 4-bedroom colonial with a wraparound porch in the nicest neighborhood in town. I'd already moved most of my stuff in. The place still smelled like fresh paint. I didn't go back that night. Or the next. I checked into a hotel downtown and sat in that sterile room, staring at the wall, replaying her words over and over. I'm settling. I could do better. Adequate. My phone blew up. 37 missed calls by Friday evening. Text after text. Where are you? I'm worried. This isn't funny anymore. Did something happen at the conference? Please just tell me you're okay. I responded exactly once. I'm fine. Need some time to think. That bought me through the weekend. On Monday morning, I called my real estate agent. I need to sell the house. As quickly as possible. But you just bought it. You'll lose money on. I understand. List it today. Then I called the venue. The caterer. The photographer. The florist. The DJ. Canceled. 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 Some of them had cancellation fees. I paid them without blinking. The venue alone cost me $8,000. Worth every penny. I called my lawyer. I need to know what happens if I call off an engagement. Property division, joint accounts, everything. He talked me through it. Since we weren't married yet, things were relatively simple. The house was in both our names, but I'd put down the entire down payment from my inheritance. With proper documentation, we could sort it out. Are you sure about this? He asked. Cold feet are normal. I'm sure. Tuesday afternoon, I finally went back to the house. Michelle's car was gone. She'd mentioned she had a training seminar all day for her job at the marketing firm. I packed everything that mattered to me. Took me 4 hours and 3 trips to a storage unit. Clothes, books, my grandfather's watch collection, photo albums from before I met her, my gaming setup, everything. I left the furniture. Left the kitchen stuff we'd bought together. Left the decorations she'd picked out. I took a last walk through the empty rooms, remembering how excited we'd been just weeks ago. How she'd squeezed my hand and said, I can't believe this is really ours. How she'd lied. I left my key on the kitchen counter next to a single envelope. Then I drove to my buddy Trevor's apartment and asked if I could crash on his couch for a while. Michelle found the letter Wednesday evening. I know because my phone literally didn't stop ringing for 3 hours straight. The letter was simple. I'd written it in the hotel room, drafted and redrafted until the words were exactly right. Michelle, I came home early Thursday to surprise you. I heard what you told your friends. Every word. I'm not going to marry someone who's settling for me. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life wondering if you're wishing you'd tried harder to do better. I'm not going to be someone's adequate. The wedding is canceled. I've already notified all the vendors. The house is listed for sale. You'll get your portion of whatever equity we have once it sells, as we discussed we'd do if things didn't work out. I've moved out. Please don't contact me. My lawyer will handle everything else. I wish you the best, but I won't be part of your compromise. She called. She texted. She showed up at my office. I'd already told my assistant that I wasn't available to Michelle under any circumstances. Security escorted her out when she refused to leave. The texts were, "Something else. You're overreacting. I didn't mean it like that. It was just girl talk. Everyone says things they don't mean. You're throwing away 4 years over a stupid comment? I love you. Doesn't that matter? Please, we can fix this. You're being cruel. Fine. Fine. I don't need you anyway. There are plenty of men who would kill to be with me." That last one made me smile. Just a little. I blocked her number after that. The house sold in 3 weeks. Lost about $15,000 on the whole transaction after fees and closing costs, but I didn't care. Her share of the proceeds went straight into an account my lawyer set up. She could deal with him to claim it. My parents were confused at first. "But you two seemed so happy," my mom said, her voice small and worried. "We weren't," I told her. "Not really. Not for her, anyway." "What happened?" I told them everything. My dad's face went hard. My mom actually teared up. "Oh, honey," she said. "I'm so sorry." "Don't be. Better to find out now than 5 years and 2 kids into a marriage." My dad nodded slowly. "You did the right thing. Took guts." His approval meant more than I'd expected it to. Friends were divided. The ones who really knew me got it immediately. Trevor, my best friend since college, just gripped my shoulder and said, "You're staying here as long as you need." No arguments. But some of our mutual friends thought I was being dramatic. "Everyone has doubts," one guy said at a barbecue I reluctantly attended. "You don't just bail over one comment." "It wasn't doubts," I said quietly. "It was contempt." He didn't have an answer for that. Michelle's friends, unsurprisingly, painted me as the villain. According to the rumor mill, I was controlling, insecure, unable to handle a joke, throwing a tantrum because of wedding jitters. I didn't bother defending myself. The people who mattered knew the truth. Everyone else could think what they wanted. The first few months were strange. I'd been with Michelle for 4 years. She'd been woven into every part of my life. Suddenly, there was this person-shaped hole in my daily routine. No good morning texts. No one asking about my day. No one to watch our shows with. No one's cold feet stealing my warmth in the middle of the night. I missed having a relationship. I didn't miss her. That distinction became clear pretty quickly. I threw myself into work. My consulting business had been doing well, but I'd been coasting a bit, comfortable with Michelle handling most of the household planning. Now I had nothing but time. I took on 3 new major clients. Started going to the gym at 5 in the morning. Read all the books I'd been meaning to read. Took a woodworking class on weekends because I'd always been curious about it. Trevor's girlfriend, Natasha, tried to set me up on dates. "You need to get back out there," she insisted. "I'm good. You're living like a monk. It's been 4 months. I'm rebuilding. I'll date when I'm ready." She backed off, but I could tell she was worried. The thing was, I wasn't sad. I wasn't pining. I was just recalibrating. Figuring out who I was without the background noise of someone who'd never truly wanted me. It was peaceful. Around the 8-month mark, I bought a condo downtown. Smaller than the house Michelle and I had bought, but it was mine. Just mine. I furnished it exactly how I wanted. Mid-century modern pieces, a massive bookshelf, a dedicated office space, a balcony where I could drink my coffee and watch the sunrise. I invited my parents over for dinner the first weekend after I'd moved in. "This is really nice," my mom said, running her hand along the kitchen counter. "Very you." Yeah. That house you bought with Michelle was beautiful, but this feels like it actually belongs to you." She was right. That house had been a compromise from the start. Michelle had wanted traditional, I'd wanted modern. We'd ended up with something that wasn't quite either. This condo was unapologetically what I liked. My dad stood on the balcony, looking out at the city lights. "You seem good," he said when I joined him. "Better than you've been in a while." "I am good. Proud of you," he said. Not every man would have had the spine to walk away from easy. "It wouldn't have been easy," I said. "That's the thing people don't get. Living with someone who settled for you, that's the hard way." He nodded and clinked his beer bottle against mine. I ran into Michelle about 10 months after the breakup. Pure chance, a coffee shop in a part of town neither of us usually frequented. I was meeting a client. She was there with someone. A guy in an expensive suit who looked like he'd stepped out of a cologne ad. Our eyes met across the room. She looked good. Different haircut, more makeup than she used to wear. But something in her expression cracked when she saw me. The confident smile she'd been wearing faltered. The cologne ad guy was talking at her, not to her. I could tell from her body language. The way she was leaning slightly away, nodding along with a polite smile that didn't reach her eyes. I gave her a small nod. Civil, nothing more. Then I turned back to my client and didn't look her way again. My phone buzzed 20 minutes later. Somehow she still had my number, or she'd gotten it from someone. Can we talk? I deleted the message without responding. Life continued. Work kept growing. I made partner at my consulting firm, youngest person to ever achieve that position. Bought a nice car, not to impress anyone, just because I'd always wanted one and now I could afford it. Started dating casually around the 1-year mark. Nothing serious. I was honest about that up front. Just dinner, conversation, maybe more if we clicked. But I wasn't looking to jump into anything. You're commitment phobic, one woman told me after our 3rd date when I said I wasn't ready for exclusivity. No, I said calmly. I'm commitment careful. There's a difference. She didn't call again. That was fine. Then, about 16 months after everything fell apart, Trevor dragged me to a gallery opening for a mutual friend's photography exhibit. I don't do art galleries, I protested. You do tonight. You've become boring. We're fixing that. The gallery was crowded, full of people in black turtlenecks talking about composition and negative space. I was about to fake a phone emergency when I saw her. She was standing in front of a large photograph of a storm rolling across a prairie, her head tilted slightly, completely absorbed. She had dark hair pulled into a messy bun, paint-stained jeans, and an oversized cardigan that looked like it had seen better days. She was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. I walked over without planning to, drawn by something I couldn't name. It's incredible, isn't it? I said. She glanced at me, and I saw the wariness in her eyes, the look women get when a stranger approaches at an event. But then she looked back at the photograph and nodded. The timing must have been perfect. Look at the way the light breaks through right there. She pointed. 5 minutes earlier or later, and the whole mood would be different. You're a photographer? Painter, actually. But I appreciate good photography. I'm always stealing light. Stealing light. That's what painting is, really. Stealing light from real life and trying to trap it on canvas. She smiled, and something in my chest shifted. Never works quite right, but we keep trying anyway. I started, then realized I was about to give my name, which felt too formal. I clearly know nothing about art. My friend dragged me here. Well, your friend did you a favor. This is one of the better shows this year. She extended her hand. I'm Kira. Nice to meet you, Kira. We talked for an hour. Then 2. At some point, Trevor found me and gave me a knowing look before disappearing into the crowd. Kira was a freelance artist who taught painting classes on the side to pay rent. She'd moved to the city 3 years ago from Seattle. She loved horror movies and hated brunch culture and had opinions about things I'd never even thought about. She was sharp and funny and had this way of looking directly at you when you talked, like what you were saying actually mattered. When the gallery started closing, I did something I hadn't done in a long time. Would you want to get dinner sometime? She studied me for a moment. Yeah, I'd like that. We exchanged numbers. Real numbers, not social media. I floated out of that gallery. Our first date was at a small Italian place she recommended. We closed the restaurant down, talking until the staff started pointedly stacking chairs. Our second date was a horror movie marathon at an old theater. She grabbed my arm during the jump scares and laughed at herself for being predictable. Our third date was the one where I knew. We'd gone hiking, something I used to love but had stopped doing during my relationship with Michelle because she hated getting sweaty and dirty. Kira attacked the trail like she was conquering a mountain, her enthusiasm infectious. At the summit, she stood at the edge of the overlook, arms spread wide, face turned to the sun. This is why we're here, she shouted into the wind. This feeling, right now, this moment, this is it. I watched her, this woman who embraced things fully, who didn't hold back or calculate or measure. What? She asked, catching me staring. Nothing. Just, you're really something. She grinned. Damn right I am. And she was. God, she was. 3 months in, she asked me about my previous relationship. We were at my place, sprawled on the couch after dinner, her feet in my lap. So what happened with your last serious girlfriend? She asked. You've mentioned you were engaged, but you never talk about it. I could have deflected, changed the subject. But something about Kira made me want to be honest. So I told her. Everything. The overheard conversation, the canceled wedding, walking away from the house, all of it. She listened without interrupting, her expression serious. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "Can I ask you something?" she said finally. "Anything. Are you still hung up on her?" "No." "Are you sure? Because that's a lot of history to just." "Kira." I took her hand. "I'm not hung up on her. I'm grateful to her, actually. Grateful. She showed me what I don't want. What I won't accept. I spent 4 years with someone who was tolerating me, convincing myself that was enough. I won't do that again. Not ever." She searched my face. "What do you want?" "Someone who chooses me. Not because I'm safe or stable or because her biological clock is ticking. Someone who actually wants to be with me. That's all. That's everything." She nodded slowly. Then she shifted, climbing into my lap to face me. "I choose you," she said quietly. "Just so we're clear. I'm not settling. I'm not compromising. You're not my backup plan or my safety net. You're my first choice." Something I'd been holding tight since that day on the staircase finally loosened. Yeah. I kissed her then, and it felt like coming home to a place I'd never been before. We moved in together after a year. Not because we felt like we should, but because we were already spending every night together anyway, and paying for 2 places seemed stupid. Her art took over half my condo. Canvases everywhere, the smell of paint and turpentine, color bleeding into every corner of the space. It should have driven me crazy. Instead, I loved it. I proposed on a random Tuesday, 2 years after we met. No elaborate plan, no grand gesture. We were cooking dinner together, and she was singing off-key to some song on her playlist, and I just knew. "Marry me," I said. She turned, wooden spoon in hand, spaghetti sauce dripping onto the floor. "What? Marry me? I know I don't have a ring yet, and this isn't romantic, and we're making a mess, but marry me." Her eyes went wide. Then she started laughing and crying, and she dropped the spoon and threw her arms around me. Yes, you absolute disaster of a human, yes. We got married 4 months later. Small ceremony, just family and close friends. Kira wore a vintage dress she'd found at a thrift store. I wore the suit my grandfather had gotten married in. It was perfect. Now, 2.5 years after I walked out of that house, I'm sitting on my couch with my wife curled into my side, her head on my chest, half asleep while some documentary plays in the background. My phone buzzes. A message from Trevor. "Dude, Michelle just showed up at Natasha's yoga class. Started asking about you. Wanted to know if you're happy, if you ever talk about her, all this weird stuff." I glanced down at Kira, at the paint still under her fingernails from her studio session this afternoon, at the small smile on her sleeping face. I typed back. "Tell Natasha she can tell Michelle the truth. I'm extremely happy, and I never think about her at all." Harsh. Honest. Fair enough. She's been single this whole time, apparently. Can't make anything stick. I don't respond. It's not my problem, not my concern. Kira stirs against me. "Who are you texting?" "Trevor. Nothing important." Love you. Love you too." She settles back into sleep, and I set my phone down. I think about the man I was 3 years ago. The one who thought stability and compromise and being enough were the same thing. The one who would have married someone who called him adequate and spent the rest of his life trying to prove his worth. That man is gone. I don't miss him. Sometimes the best thing someone can do for you is show you exactly who they are. Michelle did that. And in doing so, she freed me to find someone who never had to settle, never had to compromise, never had to convince herself I was good enough. Someone who chose me. First. Every time. The wedding I canceled ended up being the best decision I ever made. And somewhere out there, Michelle is still single, still looking, still trying to find whatever it was she thought she could do better than. I genuinely hope she finds it someday. But I'm not wondering about it. I'm not checking her social media or asking mutual friends for updates. I'm just here, in my home, with my wife, building something real with someone who never had to talk herself into loving me. That's not settling. That's winning.